Hey everyone, Brian Von Vier here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. The topic of the day, best sorcerer backstories. Really more of a concept because the campaign never really happened, but I do hope someday to be able to use her from the beginning to the end of a campaign. A female Scourge ASMR named Rava. Here's the backstory as written in the Roll20 character sheet, originally set in the world of Exandria from Critical Role. Born in a small village on the Twin Word Isles off the Menagerie coast, Rava was raised by the village of her mother's birth. Her mother died in childbirth, with her last dying wish being to raise Rava properly. Little was known of who Rava's father was. All that anyone knew was that he was evidently a Shinryu, the native word for god dragon. However, given that the island rarely saw dragons at all, they referred to almost any dragon as a Shinryu. So the only thing that anyone knew of him was that he was some sort of dragon. This was further confirmed by the faint dusting of silvery scales all over her body from birth that only seemed to slightly increase as she aged, as well as silvery claws. Rava, from a young age, was also quite a curious and inquisitive child. She was prone to ask all manner of questions, and had an incredible sense of justice, as if it was ingrained into the very core of her being. She would regularly intervene to stop bullies and minor crimes, earning the respect of many of her fellow children that she protected. Rava also showed incredible promise in magic, regularly employing her latent gifts during her little adventures. However, her heroic spirit would eventually come to bite her in the arse. One fateful day, while playing with the other children on the outskirts of the village, a monstrous bear-like creature suddenly attacked. Desperate to protect her friends, Rava used her magic to engage the creature and draw it away from her friends. This resulted in the right side of her face being horribly mauled by the strange creature. But, nonetheless, Rava emerged victorious. She collapsed from blood loss mere moments later and was recovered by the village leaders. She was treated for her wounds, but many scars manifested due to the severity of the mauling. This included her right eye, which gained a bizarre, almost glassy appearance. Not wishing for her to be made a pariah due to her newfound scars, a complex and elaborate tattoo was placed over the scars, and she resumed a normal life, adjusting to the new feeling of her marred face. Eventually, when she came of age at 18, she decided to strike out for the mainland. She set sail and headed for the mainland of Wildermount, aiming to become an adventurer for two reasons. One, to spread her justice throughout all of Exandria, and two, to hopefully uncover the mysteries of just who her father is. It's worth noting that some minor details could be adjusted for a campaign set in a different world, but I imagine you get the idea. Now, had the campaign gotten far enough, it would have been revealed that her father wasn't just any old dragon. Her father was none other than the Platinum King himself, Bahamut. It would have probably played out in a sort of Deus Ex Machina situation. The party would have been cornered in a very shitty, high-level situation, and Daddy Dearest would have intervened to save his child. Hopefully she'll be able to be fully realized someday, even if I do have to alter some minor details to make her fit in another world. Really, the only essential bit would be that Bahamut exists and could mate with a human and produce a child. My one and only sorcerer is also one of my favorite characters I've ever made. Cerberus Longclaw is a blue dragonborn, dragon bloodline, obviously, sorcerer. This one may be a bit long, sorry. Hey, no problem, I enjoy reading it. If you were to ask him about his origin, he would likely say that he was made rather than born. His mother and father were both full-blooded blue dragons who were constantly experimenting with magic. One of their more interesting experiments was when the father permanently transformed himself into a humanoid disguise and proceeded to do the thing with his mate. The results were an egg that hatched into what appeared to be a blue dragonborn, but with features that were almost one-to-one for a proper dragon, including a tail, which normal dragonborn aren't supposed to have. This meant Cerberus was, in all actuality, a full-blooded blue dragon trapped forever in a humanoid form. The two of them quickly grew attracted to their experiment, much to the surprise of both of them, and the rest of their blue dragon community followed suit for the most part. Things were not simple for young Cerberus growing up, however, as other dragons saw him as an abomination. This culminated into an attack on his family's lair, as 2 of each dragon color descended upon them. The battle was hard fought, reaching its peak when Cerberus's father, a warlock dedicated to Bahamut, sacrificed himself by releasing all of his magic in a massive blast, roaring as he did so. The magic was so powerful and the roar so primal that Bahamut himself took notice and joined his roar with the father's. In the final moments before he faded from existence, the father reverted to his dragon form one final time, his wings shining platinum as his soul joined with Bahamut's power as a reward for how fiercely he defended his family. Following the sacrifice, Cerberus's mother finished the fight, taking trophies from the other dragons she killed that day. Over the next few years, Cerberus and his mother would continue to study and experiment with magic, working towards one ultimate goal: create a draconic chimera and help it ascend to godhood, were it to replace Tiamat in the pantheon as a good god for the chromatic dragons. And so Cerberus was sent out into the world, scouting for chromatic dragons in his travels. He is to report them to his mother, and together they will gather different body parts from the 5 different chromatic types, so that it may embody chromatic dragons as equally as possible to Tiamat, without being the Hydra-type body. Now I just need to find a game to play him in. A wild magic human sorcerer who has no idea how he creates the magic he does or what he can actually do, and he struggles to control it. But he boldly embraces his abilities and proclaims himself to be a great and powerful wizard. He carries around a fake spell book that he doodles in sometimes. The background? Charlatan. Actor feat. Sara, a divine soul sorcerer. Asimar. She falsely thinks she is a winged elf known as Avarail. When asked about her past, Sara becomes silent for a time, obviously saddened by the memory. She lived amongst the Avarail, the winged elves, and although her family was full elvish, she felt more comfortable with those who had a shared lineage. Her family, growing increasingly frightened over her strange powers, commissioned a group of human slavers to capture her. She shudders when she speaks of her first years in captivity, being on display in a cage that restricted her movements to the point that her wings atrophied. They became infected, and Sara could barely speak of the night she was taken out of her cage and her wings were sawn off brutally to keep her alive. Though most Avarail would have been killed during this process, her innate power kept her alive during this tough time. After her wings were cut, she was no longer of use to the slavers that put her on display, and were it not for the kindness of a circus troupe, the Carnival Majestic, who bought her from the slavers and took her in afterwards, she surely would have died. They restored her to a health and gave her a reason to continue living. And out of respect for the generosity, she learned to use her seemingly unknown source of powers as tricks for the amusement of others, and learned to use her almost angelic voice for singing songs accompanied by her playing viol. Shortly afterwards, she was granted freedom by her newfound family and stayed with the troupe with her adopted father, Dwarven Master Elixdrahak. Although she does not know the cause of her power, she both curses and thanks her unknown power and hopes that she will find a method that she can use to regrow her wings, so she may be reunited with the Avarail. Sara approaches life outside the circus with a combination of wide-eyed innocence and wonder mixed with an innate determination to fight against injustice. Not my character directly, but one of my buddies. Branch Broom, wild magic sorcerer that was torn from our real-world Scotland and turned into a small cat-like creature with goat legs and bat wings called a Moonshroud. He stole a broom from the witch that ripped him from our world, which had the ground-up dust of a fragment of an ancient slain god of nightmares imbued into it. He doesn't really have any actual magical talent, he just waves the broom around and hopes it does what he asks it to. Thick Scottish accent, which my buddy does really well, I might add, wears a kilt and constantly makes jokes and references to our world that all other PCs are super confused about, but the players are all rolling and laughing over. Hopefully I did your buddy some justice with that last little tidbit. Magia Stormhowl, daughter of the Tempest, chosen of 7 thunders, scion of Archold Triarchy, master of the Ivory Tower, is what this halfling sorcerer would prefer you to call her. Her real name is Spritz McLafferty, a dropout from a wizard academy who took up adventuring anyway to live up to the boastful claims she would often make. What she lacked in book smarts, talent, or any applicable knowledge of magic theory, she makes up for in theatrics, spectacle, and sheer unpredictability. What little magic she does have at her fingertips, she could barely control, though onlookers would never know it past her veneer of showmanship. Hey everyone, Brian here, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to get notified whenever we post or go live. And be sure to submit a story to us on our subreddit, r/MrRipper, and to check out our secondary channel, Riptovia. Links are in the description below. Lastly, come check out me, Brian Von VA, on YouTube and Twitch, and make sure to have a very, very good day. I know things are hard out there, I know things are hot out there as well, and that things are a little bit wacky all around. However, it's going to get better. Just love yourself and keep on going forward. All the love, everybody. Be safe, be happy, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.